Before we get started, I want to just say this real quick. I already know a lot of people are going to click off of this video once they hear this, but I actually do not like this movie, and that's a pretty unpopular opinion, but I just wanted that to be stated beforehand, and it mentally pains me that I had to watch this movie 3 times in order to make this video.
Ever since...
So no, I didn't mute that clip. We actually get introduced to our main character, Baron, here, and this pretty much just sets the tone for the way he is for the entire movie. And you might be thinking it's like every other movie, you know, there's some crazy character development here. Maybe he actually learns how to speak. Nope. I'd actually argue that it gets worse over time and that he somehow makes himself even more of a worse character. So what he's doing is he's pretending that this lady is Nikki, and this poor lady just sits here and listens to this painful shit this entire time. One thing I haven't understood from the get-go, from like the first time of me ever watching this movie, is why they even involved this lady. This could have completely been done without her there, and they could have just discussed that amongst themselves and not involved anyone. So his friend Ian, that just listened to that entire thing, goes off on this tangent about how that was so bad and so cringy, and we'll get into this guy later in the movie, but for now we'll just leave it as is. Quick side note, I'm pretty sure this entire thing was Ian's idea anyways. Baron goes on to say that he wants to ask Nikki out tonight, which is trivia night, and Ian has beef with this idea. He tells him, don't do it tonight on trivia night because I love this night and it's all I have to forget. Just super self-centered shit like that. Maybe it's just me and my thoughts, but I can't help but feel like if Ian had pushed him more this entire movie to actually ask Nikki out, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, Nikki would vomit. You told me to pour my heart out. Do you know how vulnerable I just got?
So now that Ian's done being a it cuts to this scene where Baron goes home and finds his cat dead on the floor. How did that happen, you might be asking yourself? Apparently there was some medication prescribed to his deceased grandma that the cat somehow got into. If you ask me, it sounds like that's the owner's fault in every case and situation. I understand it's fiction, but one thing I don't understand is why do you still have them? So now he's crying about the death of his cat like any other normal person would. But then we go ahead and find out that he's not, in fact, crying about his cat, and he's still on this Nikki thing.
This is my cat, Pickle Seed.
Alright, so now that we've established that he doesn't care about his cat's death and he's more worried about this girl at the time, it then shows him looking at her Instagram. Like, where's the sadness for the cat? So Nikki ends up calling him and asking him if he's coming to trivia night, and he says no. And she said, damn, that sucks because I really had something I wanted to tell you. And for whatever reason, that triggers something in his mind. He's like, okay, I'm going to go to trivia night. Like, bro, where is the sadness for the I also forgot to mention that something super important happens during that call, and that pretty much influences the rest of the movie. So basically, Nikki is telling him that she dropped her crystal necklace down the drain or whatever. Baron gets the good idea of going to a shop and buying her a new one before he goes to trivia night. And that sounds pretty harmless, right? The issue comes in where Baron is so indecisive and thinks so lowly of himself that he can't even get himself to buy her a necklace because he thinks that she will hate it. Like, bro, you are buying her a new necklace. You are reimbursing her for something that she lost. If you really sat back and thought about it for more than 5 seconds, does he really think that she would react in a way that's poor? Do you think that she would say, "F you, I hate it, why did you buy me this?" Obviously not. So Mr. Gonads goes over and decides, hey, I'm gonna buy this One Wish Willow instead. I feel like the One Wish Willow would be more of a what the is this reaction than the crystal necklace. The crystal necklace is actually a gift of substance, whereas if you hand someone a One Wish Willow that does nothing, seemingly, the crystal necklace made more sense because she just lost her crystal necklace. Who loses their crystal necklace and then someone hands you like a gag gift? What the what is that?
Some people don't open them, but the people who do, you know, come back and complain.
Ruins their lives.
Or they die, I wish they were dead.
Okay, well, that's going back on the shelf. Am I the only one that thinks in real life this would be such an uncomfortable conversation, even if you don't believe in stuff like that, which I personally don't? If someone says something like that, I'd just be like, okay, I don't really know if I want this now because you just made a joke like that. So now we have our first sighting of probably one of the most glazed people I think I've seen on the internet, which that's a whole tangent in itself because I see people doing the most parasocial things and just the weirdest stuff.
What was the important stuff in the film today?
A lot. I did a lot of really important things.
That?
Cleaned. I did my taxes. I did...
You watch TV all day.
Yeah, that's all.
So then he goes on to being the closest ever in this movie to actually confessing to her then to get interrupted by Ian.
Did you drop your
Guys,
necklace?
Sarah just told me that her dad keeps a gun in the break room safe.
Bro, no one gives a shit. Everyone's intervening at this point, so he throws that idea out of the window. A part that I find pretty sad is he actually tried to tell people that his cat died, and the only person that actually hears him is Sarah.
What are we cheering to?
Sandy.
Why to Sandy?
She died.
What?
Personally, at this point, I just say don't worry about it because everyone's worried about trivia so much. It's like, y'all can go do that, and I'll sit here with my issue. And when the time's right, I'll say something about it. But the cheers to Sandy thing was very clearly ignored by everyone. They very obviously don't care. So these jerkweeds decide to leave this bar. Everyone else wants to go to a different bar, but Nikki wants to go home, and so does Baron, so Baron just offers to take her home. So on the way home, I guess he decides now is the time that I need to tell her about my dead cat. And she reacts the only way that one can really react to a situation like this.
Sorry about your cat, Baron.
It's okay.
I'm not trying to be a douche nozzle or anything, but what were you really expecting out of that? So I think collectively as a community, everyone watching this was really frustrated by this next scene. They then get to Nikki's house, and she throws him the biggest alley-oop ever, and he just doesn't take it. Everyone watching the movie knowing that he doesn't have the balls to do it himself, and then she just hands him this opportunity, and he doesn't take it, is the stupidest thing ever, and it was just so frustrating to watch. Real time and the second and third time over.
Do you like me? Because if you do, now's the time to tell me.
I think we're good friends.
Be so for real, you were crying over her about 2 hours ago. You pulled up to the function and acted like you weren't just crying. I feel like that's a large reason of why this frustrated the audience so much, is because dude was no joke crying about her probably 2 hours ago. She basically hands him this opportunity on a plate, and he just doesn't take it. Quick advice for anyone ever going through this: if this ever happens to you, just take the opportunity and you'll feel a lot better knowing that you tried and got rejected than just being sad the whole time and just sitting around feeling sorry for yourself and bitching. All right, Baron, I really don't like you back. All right, have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. That's real life how it could have gone and everything would have been just fine. But no, instead of that, his plan of action was, I have this one wish Willow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and try it right now because that's a fantastic time for me to do that while I'm outside of her house. So the real concern is why he even thought of this in the first place. I feel like any normal human being would have just been like, all right, nah, I just took my L and I'm going to go home now and take it to the chin. I'll do something about it later.
I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the fucking world.
What a geek.
Oh, I just had to pull up
You
directions.
said you had something for me?
Actually, what I wanted to tell you back there is that I am into you and I'd like to take you out for dinner sometime. See, it would have been that easy too, but now it's too late because he already did it. And I'm not at all running to his defense by any means, but I guess no real person would think, hey, this is actually going to work and it's going to be real. But it's more of his actions later on that really cement this down. So she immediately starts acting weird and starts making excuses to try to get back to his place. She starts saying her dad died, and then she mixes up her words and says that her cat died. I see a lot of commentary channels say that that was the first red flag, but you forget that they were just at the bar drinking, and sometimes people misspeak. It's not really outwards, so we won't cement that down as our first red flag here. So this is the part where the red flags start to pop up and things get truly weird. So they get back to his crib and then things start to escalate and they're making out. She randomly screams in terror and then immediately snaps out of it and says, I'm sorry, that was a panic attack. What do you mean that was a panic attack, bro? Like we're done. So now that she's asleep, this is the part where he really comes to his senses and figures out that something's really wrong here. So what he does is he decides to look up whether a one-wish Willow is real. Brother, if there were no implications years beforehand or however long you guys have been friends, then there's probably something on the outside that's influencing this. But let's just say for the sake of the situation, I put myself in his shoes, which I wouldn't do that to begin with because that's insane. But at the very least, I would think, hey, it's probably the alcohol. I probably made a bad decision. I should probably just take her back home. So homeboy wakes up to breakfast on the table and a dead cat shrine in his kitchen. Yeah, speak for yourself, but I'm not friends with anyone who ever pulled my cat out of the garbage and made a shrine in my kitchen. So Baron gets to work and he pulls Ian aside and he's like, man, I had the craziest night. And they're all like cracking up and shit and making jokes. Like, it's really not even that funny. But fast forward to later that night, Nikki pulls up to Baron's house and pretty much just admits that she was on drugs that night and she was mixing it with alcohol and it was just a bad situation, which gives Baron a little bit of relief.
I was on MDMA. And
Great, so now that that's all squared away, we can just continue on with our lives like normal, right?
I really like what we have, and I want to be honest about some things. I know you like me, Bear.
Why do you like me?
Yeah, okay, as one typically does on the first night, I guess. And then we cut to like this shitty little couples montage that goes on for probably like a minute straight. Doesn't really provide much context other than like the fact that they're maybe happy together and there's not many problems. So they're at dinner this one night and then Ian's blowing this dude's phone up. Obviously he's trying to ignore it, but it gets to a point where he can't ignore it anymore. So he answers the phone and decides to see what it's about. So this part in particular, even through the first time watch, didn't really surprise me. I think everyone kind of saw this coming. But he pretty much explains to Baron the fact that he called the exact hospital that Nikki's dad it was supposedly at, and then they had never even heard of this guy before. He then calls this guy's work and sees basically what's up, and he's been to work every single day just completely healthy. So clearly Nikki's deranged at this point, and Baron does the worst thing possible and goes and immediately confronts her. I think everyone's seen this scene. It's probably one of the movie's most famous scenes at this point. Me personally, if you did this to me in a restaurant, that's not gonna make me fuck off any. I'm gonna press the issue however I feel like pressing the issue. So that both leaves a bunch of questions unanswered and answers a lot of questions that he may have had in the last few weeks here. At this point, it's pretty obvious that it's the One Wish Willow, because what other reason would she have to lie about her dad being on his deathbed other than the fact that she just wanted to go over to his house that night? It pretty much clears up all the questions that he might have.
I thought we were having a nice day.
We aren't, and you better get the fuck out of my face before I put my hat backwards and we have an issue. Like, dog, I know it's his fault and everything, but you better sit your ass down and lower your tone of voice around these other people. So after he gets her to sit down and chillax, it shows this pretty uncomfortable scene that still managed to make me as uncomfortable the third time as it did the first. In the scene I'm referring to is the unconsensual-esque scene, if you catch my drift there. It was just pretty sad to see, and I don't think that I would ever want to watch this movie again after this because of that scene alone. So he wakes up at 3:45 in the morning, and then this is what he sees. You can ask anyone that I know and anyone will tell you that I don't easily get scared by horror movies, but this part for some reason scared the absolute piss out of me.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry, but you're getting out of my house and you're not allowed back. You can't make the argument that he doesn't know what's going on. After something like this happening, you gotta know it's not normal. Okay, so quick little side note, it's a different day now, so if my mic setup sounds a little bit different, that's why. But I have a few more parts of this movie that I really do want to cover just because it solidifies my point that I'm trying to make. So anyways, Nikki flips out and then walks weirdly around his room and then hits him with one of the nastiest pump fakes I think I've ever seen in any horror movie. If you were watching this in theater, you can't tell me that that didn't make you clench your cheeks a little bit. So now that he thinks everything's all fine and dandy, he wakes up next morning to go to work. Him and MK Ultra Nikki have a bit of a conversation before he decides to leave. But when he decides to leave, he turns to the door and she just taped that joint shut. And I don't mean that she slightly taped it as a bit of a joke. Like, that thing is completely, you could tell 14 rolls of duct tape were used in the process of this. I also thought to myself in the middle of the movie the first time around that I watched it, when did she find the time to leave the crib without him being there? Or did Baron just have like 16 rolls of duct tape just laying around under his kitchen sink? Anyways, fuck nuts goes to work and he gets a little taste of cat sandwich. I'm not redoing it, bro. I've laughed like 40 times. Anyways, I'm not going to be going over the party scene because that entire thing leading up to it and the scene itself was vile. To sum up the party scene, basically Nikki gives this disgusting story and then I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but she shanks herself in the face with a bottle, which is interesting. And I want to say, interestingly enough, the most disturbing thing about that scene is, do you think Baron did anything about her shanking herself in the face with a bottle? No, he just sat there looking embarrassed the whole time, like, bro, do something. So they're chilling in bed that night, and he gets a text from Sarah saying that she wants to talk to him about something. Obviously, he can't get up out of bed and leave Nikki there because she's right beside him. And Sarah's response to that is, I'm letting myself in your house if you don't come here. I'm sorry, but I know that you just saw what happened at that party. I don't know why we're acting like we didn't just watch that happen. Even without any context, I don't know why Sarah would be even comfortable with being around Nikki at this point after she just watched her shank herself in the face multiple times. Clearly, there's something wrong right now. So as Baron gets up to leave, the real Nikki breaks through and tries to talk to him, and she says this.
Just kill me.
What would be so bad? What's so bad about being with me?
So at this rate, I already knew the movie was more than halfway over, so I kind of just accepted the fact that Baron's not going to take any type of accountability at all for his actions, or at least make it right. That part right there is how I knew Baron was a complete shit for brains. So Baron gets there and he gets in Sarah's car, and the reason that she invited him there is because she wants to open her letter from this college that she was really wanting to go to, apparently. And to absolutely zero surprise at all, Nikki hawks him down. And to say that she absolutely brutalizes Sarah is an understatement. So this is the last straw for Baron. I don't know why it took him this long to realize that things are not alright. He decides he's gonna go back to the store where he bought that first One Wish Willow in order to find some type of solution to his problem. A problem that affected everyone else's life, by the way. And now that he's annoyed and inconvenienced, he's gonna finally try to find a solution. I don't know if he thought he can just wait however long he wants, and when he wants to reverse it, it'll all just buff out. So anyways, he goes to Ian of all people, which I don't know why he would choose Ian. Don't even get me started on Ian, bro. He's been preying on your downfall since this movie started. So Baron tells Ian about this situation and then explains to him how to solve this problem. And of course, Ian wishes for $1 billion to be a smartass. Even if I were to put myself in Ian's shoes, I still don't understand why he would just try to push the limits like this. Worst case scenario, the wishing thing isn't real and he was just messing with him, but bro, you could have at least listened a little bit. And I think it can go without saying that I hear you on the $1 billion thing, bro, but like that was just to spit in everyone's faces. And the $1 billion ends up amounting to absolutely nothing because he gets smoked by Nikki. And I'm gonna try to phrase this in a way that complies with YouTube's guidelines, but to sum up the ending, Baron is the ending if you catch my drift. And a little bit of comedic relief, not really, for the ending. Baron tries to go back and reverse what he did to end, I don't know, like I can't really say this without messing with YouTube guidelines. How are you gonna make the decision to do that and finally make things right, and then once you actually do it, you decide that you don't want to do it and then try to go back? So that's gonna be the end of this video. If you did like this video, a subscribe would be actually dope. This video took 2 days. That's honestly due to poor time management, but we don't talk about it. Also, my birthday's today. I turned 21, so chuck a sub. Actually watch my